The story starts like this. In 1965, a man called Mr. Barr and his wife, Mrs. Barr, ran a successful business that sold ladies' blouses. Down the road, they had some friends called Mr. and Mrs. Gray, who were farmers. Now, on bonfire night in 1965, Mr. and Mrs. Barr invited their friends and their kids to the house to have a bonfire with them. However, this particular bonfire kindled not only its own embers, but also a romantic relationship between Mrs. Barr and Mr. Gray that was completely unintended by the parties. Mr. Gray became so infatuated with Mrs. Barr that he actually flew to New Zealand and left her £240 to buy herself a plane ticket so that she could come and join him. For one reason or another, Mrs. Barr did not join Mr. Gray, and eventually he came back to his farm with his tail between his legs in the UK. The affair seemed to be coming to a head when the two lovebirds went to Scotland with each other, ignoring their actual married spouses. However, in a strange and surprising turn of events, when they came back, Mrs. Barr said that she had had enough of Mr. Gray and she was not going to continue the affair. She went for a romantic meal with Mr. Barr, her husband, and much to his delight, went home hand in hand with him after that. However, that very evening, when Mr. Barr parked his car at home, saw his wife go upstairs, and was just about to turn in himself, he switched off the lights, he got the boiler ready for the next day, and he made his way upstairs to the room where he thought his wife was sleeping. He turned off the lights, he opened the door, but Mrs. Barr was not there. Now, I hope you'll stick around to hear what happened next in the story. I can tell you there is more than one twist in this tale. But just before I do tell you, I'd like to tell you that I make these videos for interest, not for publicity and not for profit, given that they're secret. If you're enjoying hearing the legal stories, or if you just need something to do while you wait for me to get on with the next part, then please click the subscribe button. It lets you be notified when I release another video. It's completely free, and it also gives me a big boost of confidence to know that people are watching and enjoying. Thank you. So what happened next in the story? Well, this. Mr. Barr, having discovered that his wife was not in the bedroom where he thought she was, assumed she must have gone off with Mr. Gray. So disappointing after such a romantic evening they'd had together, he must have been furious. He loaded up a shotgun, he revved his engine, and he sped off to Mr. Gray's farmhouse straight away. Mr. Gray opened the door to his friend. "Is my wife up there?" asked Mr. Barr. Mr. Gray said, "What are you talking about?" But Mr. Barr thrust the shotgun up at him and demanded to see into the bedroom where he thought his wife must be. There was a tussle on the stairs between the two men. And following that, as Lord Justice Salmon put it in the case that followed, only two men knew what happened next, and one of them was very shortly dead. Mr. Gray died in his own house that night, the victim of a bullet from the shotgun to his chest. Now, I mentioned a twist or two, and what was that? Well, Mrs. Barr was never in Mr. Gray's bedroom that night. She had actually gone off to the woods near her and Mr. Barr's house, taken an overdose of sleeping pills, and attempted to kill herself. The other twist, and this is the biggest irony of the whole case, the very shotgun that had been used to kill Mr. Gray was given to Mr. Barr by none other than Mr. Gray himself. Now, I thought you might want a bit of light relief before we all get too depressed. So here is the result of my cooking. Batch cooked meals for both me and my girlfriend for the next eternity. Now, doesn't that make you feel better? So what happened after the police were called and the matter went to court? I think you'll find it just as interesting as what happened in the farmhouse that night. To recap, Mr. Gray dead with a bullet from his own shotgun to the chest. Mrs. Barr, the other lover in the affair, in hospital after a serious overdose. Just before I explain how the case turned out, I'd like to explain how the English court system works, because it's very relevant. In English law, there are two main types of court. There is criminal and there is a civil court. Now, a civil court is where you go if you do something that is so wrong that it harms another person. They'll take you to the civil court, and that court will decide who wins between the two of you. If you do something that's even more wrong than just a civil matter, you'll be taken by the state to a criminal court. And that's for an offence not just against a person, but against society. It makes sense for the state to take certain matters to court instead of private individuals. Because if you think about it, the victim in a criminal affair might be too intimidated, they might not have the funds, or, as in Mr. Gray's case, they might actually have died as a result of your actions. So now we understand how the English court system works. What happened first of all in the criminal case when the state took Mr. Barr to court? Well, interestingly, the jury actually acquitted Mr. Barr of both murder, that's deliberate killing, and manslaughter, that's accidental killing. They said that it was not his fault and he should go free. But that wasn't the end of the matter for Mr. Barr. Think back to the real victim of this case. Not one of the lovers, and perhaps, given his actions afterwards, not Mr. Barr either. Remember Mrs. Gray, the poor widow of her husband, who had been one of the lovers in the affair. Mrs. Gray was left without the income of her husband to live off. She still had their children to support. Now that the criminal case was over and done with, Mrs. Gray tried to take Mr. Barr to court in a civil court to try and get compensation from his insurance company. Now, getting money for loss of earnings of her husband from the insurance company depended on a very specific clause in the insurance cover that had been held by Mr. Barr. Mr. Barr's insurance said that they would only pay out for acts that were accidental injury to another person. Now, Mrs. Gray and her advisors must have thought this was a pretty open and shut case. If it depended on an accidental injury or death, and the criminal court had already decided that Mr. Barr's actions were not deliberate and therefore he could walk free, you'd think that the civil court would just follow what the criminal court had done and would say it was an accident, he was acquitted, and therefore there must be a payout under the terms of the insurance. However, and this is the biggest twist of all in the tale, the civil court said they simply could not follow the reasons for acquitting Mr. Barr. They just couldn't agree that the killing had been an accident. And what that meant for Mrs. Gray was that she got no payout for the loss of the income from the breadwinner. Now, that was not all of the compensation that Mrs. Gray was entitled to. She did actually get some funds for different reasons, but under the lucrative insurance contract, which was her main hope for funds on which to raise her children, she was denied relief. She lost on both counts. She lost her husband, and she lost any legal opportunity to recoup the money that he would have earned while he was still alive. Rough justice or the right result? I'll let you decide.